You are not a victim of bad luck. You are a victim of your own unconscious recognition. Carl Jung believed that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. When you repeatedly attract the wrong people, your psyche is actually performing a high-level search for a specific type of familiar pain. You're looking for a mirror, not a partner. The reason you feel an electric spark with someone who eventually hurts you is often a signal of recognition, not compatibility. This is what Freud called repetition compulsion. Your brain is attempting to recreate a difficult scenario from your past, usually involving a parent, in order to solve it this time. You pick the person who is emotionally unavailable because they represent the original wound you are trying to heal. You believe that if you can finally win their love, you will finally be enough. Jung's concept of the shadow explains why you are drawn to traits you claim to despise. If you have spent your life being the responsible one, you will be magnetically attracted to someone reckless or chaotic. You aren't falling for them. You are falling for parts of yourself that you have suppressed. They are living out your hidden desires, and your attraction to them is a subconscious attempt to become a whole person through someone else's behavior. There's also the phenomenon of the Anima and Animus, the internal feminine and masculine templates we carry. If your internal template is distorted by early trauma, a healthy, stable person will feel wrong or boring to you. Your nervous system has been programmed to associate drama and anxiety with love. Without the chaos, you don't feel the chemistry, so you bypass the right people in search of the high that comes from the wrong ones. Breaking this cycle requires a brutal inventory of your type. You must realize that your type is often just a collection of your unhealed wounds. To change who you attract, you have to stop trying to fix the person in front of you and start integrating the parts of yourself that feel incomplete. You have to learn to tolerate the boredom of a healthy person until your nervous system realizes that peace is actually more rewarding than the familiar sting of rejection. Think of your mind like a radar system that has been calibrated to only pick up trouble. If you grew up in a house where love was something you had to earn, or where emotions were unpredictable, your radar thinks that stress is the same thing as passion. When you meet someone who is actually good for you, someone consistent, kind, and open, your radar doesn't go off. You call it no spark or no chemistry, but the truth is just that they aren't triggering your old wounds. You're addicted to the roller coaster, so the flat ground feels like it's missing something. You are essentially shopping for a specific kind of problem to solve. We all have a ghost from our past, a parent who didn't listen, a sibling who took all the attention, or a home that felt like a battlefield. You aren't looking for a person. You're looking for a second chance to win that old fight. You find people who treat you exactly like that ghost did, hoping that this time you can change them. You think if you can make a cold person warm, you finally prove you're lovable. But you're choosing people who are literally incapable of giving you what you need. This is why you feel a soulmate connection with the most toxic people. It's not a connection of souls. It's a connection of scars. You recognize their damage, and they recognize yours. It feels like you've known them forever because you have known people like them forever. A healthy relationship feels like work because it requires you to be a version of yourself you haven't met yet. A toxic relationship feels natural because it only requires you to be the version of yourself that is used to hurting. You have to realize that your gut feeling might actually be a liar. If your gut was trained in a dysfunctional environment, it will lead you straight back to dysfunction every time. To fix this, you have to stop following the spark and start following the values. You have to choose people based on how they actually treat you on a Tuesday afternoon, not how they make your heart race during a midnight argument. You have to learn that boring is actually just a sound of peace. The cycle only stops when you become unhackable. Right now, you have emotional hooks sticking out of you, neediness, fear of being alone, or the need to be a savior. The wrong people have the exact loops to catch those hooks. When you start healing yourself and pulling those hooks in, the wrong people will still fly by, but they won't have anything to grab onto. They'll find you boring because they can't manipulate you, and you'll find them exhausting instead of exciting. You have to look at your savior complex as a form of avoidance. Many of us are drawn to broken people because as long as we are busy fixing someone else's life, we don't have to look at the wreckage in our own. It's a clever trick of the ego. You play the role of the stable, healing partner to hide the fact that you feel completely out of control inside. You attract people who are projects because a project doesn't require you to be vulnerable. It only requires you to be useful. But love isn't about being useful, and eventually, you realize you build a relationship with a patient, not a partner. There's also the mirror effect. The people you find most frustrating or toxic are often talking versions of the traits you have spent your whole life trying to kill off in yourself. If you're someone who prides yourself on being perfect and together, you will be pathologically attracted to someone who is a mess. You aren't just attracted to them, you are attracted to the freedom they have to be bad. You are subconsciously trying to give yourself permission to stop being so perfect. But instead of just loosening up, you outsource that messiness to a partner who eventually ruins your peace. We also have to talk about the threshold of pain. If you grew up in an environment where you had to walk on eggshells, your nervous system actually became comfortable with a high level of background stress. In a healthy relationship, when someone respects your boundaries, your brain doesn't know what to do with that lack of tension. It feels empty. You attract the wrong people because their chaos provides a volume your brain thinks it needs to hear. You've been trained to listen to a hurricane, so when someone speaks to you in a calm, loving breeze, you think they aren't saying anything at all. Finally, you have to understand that your type is a prison you built for yourself. We often use the phrase, "I just have a type," to excuse our attraction to red flags. But a type is really just a repetitive pattern of choosing what is familiar over what is functional. Breaking this means being willing to feel uncomfortable. It means going on a second date with a person who didn't give you butterflies, which are often just a form of anxiety, and giving your heart a chance to recognize a different kind of connection, one built on safety rather than survival. The wrong people stop appearing when you stop needing them to prove that you are a hero, a victim, or a martyr.